20 years ago, had I used the words Kia and premium in the same sentence, you'd expect that to be maybe a punchline of a joke. But it's no longer the late 1990s, and Kia is now an actual premium brand. It all started with the redesign of the Kia Optima, making it more upscale, and the apex came when the Kia K900 debuted. Everyone thought that was the end of the line. Kia couldn't get much better than that. Well, Kia proved us wrong again in 2018 with the release of the Kia Stinger and its GT2 package like I have here. I just spent the last week in this vehicle, and here's what I think. Now, when you come up front on the Stinger GT, you have one of the most expressive front ends Kia's ever made. It all starts with this nice wide tiger nose grille that flows down to this functional air inlet down here, and it's all widened by these brake inlets here. Now, while this front end is great, it gets a little awkward when you walk up close because up top here, these ports on the hood are not functional. They're very much fake. They're all closed off on top. I don't understand why Kia put those there. I guess they thought they looked cool, but at the very least, pop some holes in there, at least make them functional. Now, come down to the sides here, you have your dark chrome mirror caps that go into your dark chrome trim up top, and it all accents this nice sloping roofline that some may call a sportback. Now, if you look at the entire profile, you're going to notice there's not very many angles, not a lot of creases, so it's pretty smooth until you get right here. This detracts your eyes a little bit, but you have to forgive Kia just a bit for it because these are functional brake heat extractors. So what happens, the air flows through there, goes over the wheels, through the brakes, and out here comes the hot air to keep those brakes nice and cool when you're driving around the corners and hitting the brakes. Back of the Kia Stinger GT, you're going to notice the style continues from front to back with this amazing back end. It starts off here with this raised rear glass. It gives it that coupe or sportback look people are looking for these days. But one thing to keep in mind when buying this car is this raised rear glass does limit your rearward visibility pretty significantly. Lucky this has a rear view camera, so that shouldn't matter most to many people, but this will be an issue if you like to look through that back glass. But when you come down here, you have your nice rounded taillights. But one problem with these taillights that I have, and you might notice if you put this next to a Dodge Charger, the racetrack taillights are very similar. But you got to forgive Kia a little bit for that. They do accent the squeeze by air back end that kind of shrinks down a little bit. And then come down further here, you have your rear diffuser that adds some sportiness, and your quad tip exhaust pipes finish off the job. Inside the 2018 Stinger GT2, Kia went with more of a classic 2+2 GT look. Some of the classic styling bits include your 3-post steering wheel here. You also have real metal trim. Yes, this is all real metal trim that goes from the center console up to the buttons here and shoots across the dashboard. You also have some over here in your door panel up on top and down below. Another styling bit is your circular air vents here. You have 3 up front here and actually 2 in the back as well. Plus, one bit that gets overlooked is if you take a look at the seats, they have width-wise stitching, which is another trait from that era. Now, Kia understands that not everybody's going to love this look, so it made sure to throw in some modern bits people are going to want. Things like a touchscreen up here, your heads-up display, paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, and of course, your large sunroof. Inside the 2018 Stinger GT2, you have a mixed bag in terms of comfort. This is designed to be a sports sedan, so there are some compromises you have to make. But Kia did a good job with a few things. So first of all, this being a sportback or coupe design, the rear headroom is generally limited. But Kia pushed the rear seats forward and pushed the slope of the roofline backward to allow for enough headroom for about a 6-foot or even taller person. Plus, there's over 36 inches of rear seat legroom, so you got enough legroom back there for your average adult. Now up front, there's plenty of room. There's lots of knee room to move around. The seats are plenty adjustable. There's 16-way adjustments fore, aft, up, and down. Plus you have 4-way adjustment for the lumbar and 2-way adjustment for the bolsters. Now the bolsters are one place where I can complain a little bit because after about 2 or 3 hours in the driver's seat, those bolsters can get a little bit tight, even at their softest setting. So what I recommend if you do drive this car and buy this car, always set the bolsters at the tightest setting at first, and then as you go through your drive a couple hours in, slowly loosen them up so you feel more comfortable as you go. Now with this car, it does have sport mode because it is a sports sedan. One thing about sport mode is that it does get a little bit rough. So when you go test drive this car, make sure you give it a crack in sport mode to be certain that you can handle the jarring and jostling this thing does. And if not, try a comfort mode, make sure that's good for you before buying this car. When it comes to tech inside the 2018 Stinger GT2, Kia did a great job at combining that classic styling with all the modern amenities that everyone's going to want. One of the highlights inside this vehicle though is this 8-inch UVO system that includes navigation on the GT2 and also comes with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Yes, UVO, which is owned by Microsoft, is finally playing nicely with Google. You don't have to put them in separate corners, don't have to put them on timeout. They're playing well together and doing their thing. The navigation on here from Kia is very good. Kia's always had a great navigation system, but Google Maps blows every navigation system away, so you want to connect that Android Auto and run Google Maps. Now besides the tech inside the 2018 Kia Stinger GT, you also have tons of safety doodads. Things like your rear view camera with dynamic guidelines, rear park assist, rear cross traffic alert, line zone alert, automatic cruise control with full stop and go, which means in traffic the car stops for you and picks up again when traffic starts moving. You also have lane keep assist. All these goodies are going to keep you and your family safe while having a hell of a good time driving this thing. Let's talk about performance because that's what we're all here for in the Stinger GT anyways. This thing comes with a 3.3 liter twin turbo V6 that puts out 365 horsepower and 370 pound-feet of torque. That's a lot of power and torque, but what really makes this thing, what's most awesome about this powertrain is the fact that that 370 pound-feet of torque kicks in at 1300 RPMs. That is literally right off throttle. You flick your foot and you have full torque. That gives this thing an amazing sprint time. 0 to 60 according to Kia is 4.7 seconds, but I'm gonna tell you it feels a hell of a lot faster than that. Now if you do go down a few trim levels on this, you do get the 2.0 liter, but that still has 255 horsepower, which is plenty to get this thing going in just shy of 6 seconds. Now this thing is a sports sedan. It really is. Kia classifies it as that, but I don't classify it as it because it doesn't quite handle as I'd expect a sports sedan to do. At 3,800 pounds, it does toss its weight a little bit too much. Even in sport mode with that suspension tuned all the way down to as stiff as it goes, it still leans a little bit in the corners and makes you pucker up just a little bit and give yourself a second guess as to how fast you're really going to take that turn. So sport mode is a little bit too much for you. You can go into what's called custom mode and actually tweak the little parts of that sport mode. So what you can do is you can say you want your transmission to shift a little bit softer. You can do that. Make your steering a little bit lighter. Make the suspension a little bit softer. Heck, you can even go in there and turn off that annoying synthesized engine sound and let this 3.3 liter V6 natural sound come into the cabin and please your ears. Overall, the 2018 Kia Stinger GT is an obvious poke at BMW and Mercedes. They are looking at the Germans and saying, hey, this is what we can do when we put our mind to it and make a sports sedan. What makes it more obvious is the fact that Kia put the former head of BMW M Division in charge of the powertrain and chassis on this vehicle. Now, even with him at the head of that department, can the Kia Stinger GT actually hold up in terms of performance to German engineering? Not yet. Not quite at that level just yet. But dollar for dollar, you really cannot beat this versus anything BMW and Mercedes can put out in this class. So, it all comes down to, well, what would I do? This thing is $50,000 after you include your destination fee and everything. Without that, it's just shy of $50,000. And when you think about what this competes with, there's really not much in this class of competition. Really the only thing I can look to is the BMW 340i GT X-Drive. Now the BMW is more comfortable, yes. It does have more rear legroom, yes. It has more cargo room because it is a larger vehicle, and it has standard all-wheel drive. But it's not tuned for performance like this is. It rides a little bit higher than this. So you're not gonna get the exhilarating feel you get with this vehicle. So it really depends on what your preference is. Are you looking for a sports sedan with a sport back? Or are you looking for a cargo-friendly sedan that drives like a sedan instead of a crossover? That's where that value proposition comes into play. For me, how I would look at this is, okay, I keep a hold of a car for at least 10 years. Kia has a warranty to cover that 10 years. Also, the cost of ownership for a Kia is significantly lower for a BMW. Every single year you own that BMW, the cost of owning it gets higher and higher and higher. The maintenance is more expensive, repairs are more expensive. So if you're gonna buy this car and keep it for 10 plus years, go with the Kia. But if you're gonna lease the car and turn it in or actually resell it after you're done with the lease, I'd say go ahead and stick with the BMW. But really, go test drive them both. See which one fits you better and make a decision from there.
Thanks for watching. Click subscribe for more Insider Car News videos.